Hello and welcome. My name is James Wynn and I'm the Director of Business Development at Attorney Credits. In today's webinar, we're going to continue our discussion on how to get new business for your law firm by creating a personal business development strategy in combination with a complementary online plan. To discuss this topic in greater detail, please welcome Larry Bodine and Victoria Blute from our friends at LAWLYTICS. Guys, welcome back.
Welcome to today's webinar. Today's webinar is the second part of our two-part series about how to get new business from both your in-person and your online marketing. Now, just as a reminder before we get started, we won't have time to answer questions during the presentation, but if you do have questions, you can submit them through the Zoom control panel under the Q&A section, and we'll address those questions at the end of the webinar. For those of you who aren't familiar with me, my name is Victoria Blute and I'm the Community Manager at LAWLYTICS. My job is to keep attorneys on the cutting edge of web technologies and online legal marketing, and to help you learn what works on the web to create sustainable marketing for your law firm without wasting time and without wasting money. I come from a journalism background, and if you visit our blog regularly or you've attended some of our webinars, including the first part in this Attorney Credit series, you might recognize me. Before we get into this presentation, I do want to briefly review who we are here at LAWLYTICS, what we do, and why it matters. You have many choices of companies and technologies to design, build, host, and help you market your law firm's website. And at LAWLYTICS, we do all of that. And we also have a lot of competition. So what is LAWLYTICS? How are we different? Our company is obsessed with the pursuit of the most efficient method of marketing for each law firm. And as we see it, there are two major variables of efficiency. There's time and there's money. And LAWLYTICS was created to empower law firms to have unlimited marketing success without wasting time or money. And we have two different types of competitors. So on the one side, we have full-service marketing companies. And LAWLYTICS is built to give attorneys all of the upsides of using a full-service company without exposing you to the potential risks and downsides. And on the other side are do-it-yourself website software programs that are cheap or free to use. These programs tend to come with some steep opportunity costs. Attorneys will often struggle to make them work, and unfortunately, as they struggle, they tend to also waste their time and miss some opportunities along the way. So both full-service companies and do-it-yourself platforms are viable options, but LAWLYTICS offers a more practical solution for lawyers. We work exclusively with lawyers, and our services are adaptable to every stage of a law firm's growth. And that means our members can start as small as they choose and then grow as big as they decide, and that's without taking dangerous risks or committing to things that might not work. And because our software is built exclusively for you, the attorney, the learning curve is really easy. And that enables our members to add to and edit their websites and turn their efforts into new business without struggling. Joining me today is Larry Bodine, and before I turn the mic over to him, I want to quickly introduce you to him if you're not already familiar with his work, because he has a very impressive resume, both as an attorney and as a legal marketer. So Larry is currently the Senior Legal Marketing Strategist here at LAWLYTICS, as well as serving as the editor of the National Trial Lawyers and the editor of Mass Tort Nexus. And today I'm going to join him in discussing some effective methods for getting business from both your in-person and your online marketing. Larry, good morning.
Good morning, Victoria. I want to welcome everybody to today's program.
Larry, how about you tell us a little bit about what is in this webinar in terms of getting business in person?
We're going to cover 4 points. We'll talk about creating a personal business development plan to generate new business. We're going to discuss the right way to give branded items so that clients and potential clients find you and come back for more services. We'll talk about past clients and how they can turn into new business. And we'll talk about letting your reputation precede you.
And in my part of this webinar, I know a lot of attorneys are puzzled about what makes online marketing work and how to develop a strong web presence. And by that, I mean one that attracts the right web visitors to your law firm's website and converts them into potential clients for your firm. But despite a lot of what legal marketing companies tell attorneys, sustainable online marketing that drives business to your firm is not rocket science. Now, what it does require is a little bit of know-how and strategy and planning. And a large part of that is understanding the online ecosystem, how search engines work, how your potential clients use them to find attorneys online, and what role content marketing plays in all of that. Just as a hint, it's a big part. The common thread in all the things I'm going to be discussing today involve online content that provides value to your potential clients and even your former clients. So first, I'll be talking about what it takes to create a digital content plan and how to execute that efficiently and what goes into that. Then I'll discuss the value of quality online collateral, things like ebooks and infographics. These are things that can help you develop bonds with your potential clients before they have ever met you face to face. I'll also briefly discuss some online client relationship strategies and how to leverage your online reputation. So first, I'm going to hand the mic over to Larry, and he'll tell you a little bit about in-person business development.
If you do not have a written business development plan, you will not generate new files. The ideal length of an attorney business development plan is 3 pages, and there are 3 elements to those pages. Page 1 is about clients, page 2 is about referral sources, page 3 is about organizations. These are the #1 sources of new business. It's essential that you meet people outside the office. The reason for that is there's no new business in the office. To generate new business, you need to go to meetings, meet people in person, and develop relationships. Furthermore, you need to add business development activities to your calendar. The calendar I'm referring to is the one that you record court appearances on. A business development meeting is equally as important as an appearance in court. Finally, you need to keep meticulous records about the people you meet. Over time, you will meet many people, and you don't want to clutter up your mind trying to remember all of this. It's much easier if you write it down so that you can click on your contacts and read your notes. So for example, when you are meeting people in person, seek and listen to personal information from the people you meet. When you have the names of people's children and the names of their pets, you've hit gold.
So Larry just talked a little bit about creating a business development plan. I'm going to talk about what might be described as sort of the online marketing version of that. Earlier, I mentioned the importance of content as it relates to sustainable online marketing. And a lot of attorneys have questions about how to get started with this and how to get started the right way. The thing with content is this: it's the consistent effort that you put in over time. That's really what counts with content. So, for example, if you write 1 blog post a month, or you don't regularly add to the substantive practice area pages on your site, that is really unlikely to move the needle for your firm. And a lot of attorneys look at their online marketing as an afterthought. They don't put much effort into the future of it and how they're going to plan for it. And we think that's a big mistake. And a lot of that can start in law school. Attorneys aren't necessarily focused on the business side of things and how to get clients yet. And succeed in the short term. It be said that it's not. It's okay. What to say it and what pages you should include for every single attorney. But the reality is that there are so many different combinations of geography, of practice area or areas, of personality, of desired client base, of firm composition, and so on and so forth, that one size does not fit all. In fact, one size usually doesn't fit more than one. So the tools that I want to give you here are guidelines that can help you decide what is best for you and your firm as you continue to think about and plan for your future with content. So when I talk about a content plan, a plan should really be a written document or like a Word document on a word processor. Think of it like a business plan. There are a number of reasons for this. So whether you are a solo and you're calling all the shots, or you're an attorney in a firm with several attorneys and you call the shots, it still makes sense to put this into writing so that you have the ability to maintain the focus of what is going to be done. You basically have a guidebook with milestones and accountabilities throughout the process of creating this plan. A content plan, when it's done right, isn't something that can be executed in a week or a month or even 6 months. It's something that over the course of 1 to 3 years can really turn your firm around and really benefit you. Having this document prevents things like mission creep. It prevents you from losing focus when, a marketer cold calls your office and says that they can get you to the quote unquote top of Google, which is really just a myth. Having the content plan will help you keep on track. So the content plan should be looking at the 1 to 3 year horizon, depending upon how fast you think you can get that content created. And that can depend on a lot of different things, how much time you have available to you, if you have multiple attorneys writing, and so on. And it should articulate how the content is going to be presented. It should have at least a rough schedule of when that content is going to be produced, and it should assign who is accountable for each piece of content. And that even includes if you're the only one creating it, because you've got to stick to that schedule. It's sort of a matter of planning the work and working the plan. Now, if you have multiple people writing this content, so for example, maybe you make the plan and then you have a law clerk writing the content, or you outsource it to a company like LAWLYTICS to write your content, or you're having someone else in your firm do it and then it comes back to you for something like editorial revisions. Make sure that plan articulates who's going to do what and when they're going to do it. Now, I know this slide here outlines really the most basic structure of what makes an effective content plan, but let's also talk for a second about the content itself. As I said, there is no one-size-fits-all when it comes to content for law firms, but there are some general guidelines that can help you decide what to write about. When it comes to creating your content, there are a number of ways to approach it, but we like to think about it from a journalistic perspective. So if you've ever taken a journalism class, and I know a number of lawyers who started as journalism majors, then this of course should be familiar to you, the 5 W's, who, what, where, when, and why, and also sometimes how. We put a different spin on it here at LAWLYTICS. So when we talk about who, we're saying who are your potential clients and referral sources? Who is your audience? And it really helps to articulate this. What kind of clients do you want to attract? Who are you writing to? If you're writing specifically to consumers of your legal services, if you're in a consumer-facing practice, what does the ideal potential client look like? What are other potential clients that you might want to engage with? What do they look like? What questions do they ask? How are they consuming this information? What demographic do they belong to? Who you're writing to is very, very important, both for potential clients and for referral sources. For example, do you have disparate audiences? And to that end, are there conflicts that need to be addressed there? There can be different personalities, different education levels, different needs. How do you address those? We can't go into the major details about this in this particular webinar, though we do have a number of resources that address practice area specific issues over at our website, but let me just give you a quick example here of a conflict that might come up. Let's say you are a criminal defense attorney and you do appellate work, and maybe you have 2 separate audiences. One are criminal defendants who have lost a trial, who you potentially want to represent on appeal. The other is defense attorneys who might have tried the case or who might be otherwise involved, who don't do appellate work but might refer a case to you. How do you approach that? A journalistic approach here can really work. You can start with the basic concepts in your content, answer the defendant's questions more simply, and then drill down and get more nuanced. So citations, case law, your personal experiences with it, local rules, however that resonates with you. But in that specific example, the benefit of creating the content in a way that is, the defendant will probably stop reading when they get the basic information that they need, wherever that point is. But ideally here, the referral source is likely to get into the much more complicated aspects that have been created as you drill down into that content. So it benefits both parties. Now let's talk about the what. What questions are your potential clients and referral sources asking? What questions are they failing to ask but should be asking? And this is really the most important thing. It's really what's at the heart of some of the most successful law firm websites out there. Attorneys who have really refined the art of translating the questions that they are asked on a daily basis by clients who are sitting across the desk from them into content on their website. The questions that potential clients ask you during a consult or during the course of their case, these are the same questions that potential clients ask online. In fact, they ask search engines questions almost the exact same way that they do to you when they meet with you. So pay attention to the questions that they're asking, pay attention to the language that they're using. When you look at the questions that they're asking, ask yourself, are these questions relevant to growing your practice? The answer to that is almost always yes. So if it takes you 5 minutes or 15 minutes to write the answer to a question in a blog post or something like that, even if only one person has ever asked you that, if more people conduct Google searches for it, that content on your website is likely to get returned in search results, and that person is highly likely to engage you versus someone who has never answered that question on their site. What's also important here is to provide highly detailed answers. The more details you can provide, really the better. Where details are concerned, I know there are some attorneys out there who will say, why in the world do I need to provide so much information? These people don't care about the details. And in some respects, that can be true. Say the average assault defendant or personal injury plaintiff may not care about the nuances, but they are going to care about whether you know what you're doing and that you're looking out for them. And good content can be representative of that. But the more you put out there, the more likely you are to engage them and answer the questions that they're asking. And the thing is, attorneys don't get to make the call about what resonates with the potential client, just like when attorneys stand in front of a jury. You don't get to base what that jury makes their decision on, but this is the importance in providing all of the details. When potential clients conduct a search on Google and you've written highly detailed content that addresses that particular question, Google tends to give that content preference in search results when it's for a relevant search because it's answering a question in the way that a potential client is asking. Next up is when. So when do your potential clients want the answers? Typically, that can mean right now. People are very impatient about information delivery, especially today. They expect to type a query into Google and get an answer immediately. But there's also some nuance to that. So in some cases, this is an immediate decision, i.e. someone who has been arrested today and they have their arraignment tomorrow. Or it might be a more long-range decision, something like estate planning or tax planning. They may come back to your website multiple times to learn more about a particular subject. The next thing to think about is where your potential clients are at, and I mean geographically speaking. Geography is important to what people are searching for a lot of times. So if you're practicing in one state, you don't want to make your content so general that it doesn't focus on where you are. So if you're doing estate planning in California, you don't want to just say estate planning. That's not likely to necessarily attract the right searches. So you want to integrate your location into the content. And there's a few ways to look at this. So as an example, does the location matter to the question? So if a potential client is going to a search engine and they're asking, what do I do with my arraignment in Seattle Municipal Court this Friday? That's a location-specific question. On the other hand, they might ask, what is the statute of limitations in Washington State for something? The fact that they're in any city in Washington doesn't matter to the question exactly, but the location can matter to the answer. So once the person is at your website after searching for a higher level concept, and you frame that concept and then explain something that matters at a local level, so a local rule, a nuance, a local mention, that can make a difference. And not only to attract people to your website via search engines, but also that you care enough to let them know about that specific information. So think about how your location works into all of this. And then lastly, why? Why should they listen to you among the sea of other voices that are out there of other attorneys? Why should they trust you and hire you? So what makes you persuasive to that particular potential client? What makes you unique? And think about this before you start writing. Don't just copy what other people are doing. There is a way to frame or reframe the issues that you talk about in a way that is unique to your particular firm, that captures your personality and resonates with a potential client or a referral source. The last question about all this might be how. How do you plan all of this content out? And for that, in the interest of time, we recommend checking out our free on-demand webinar series about how to start and grow your law firm website and ultimately dominate your market. You can check that out over on the LAWLYTICS website. And with that, now that I've discussed content at length, we're going to move on here. Larry's going to tell you a little bit about promotional items and how to give them the right way. Larry?
Thank you, Victoria. That was very helpful. I employ all of the techniques that you discussed in my own practice. My career spans 50 years, and over the years, I've generated hundreds of new clients. It's supported my practice for decades. Regarding branded items, attorneys underestimate the value of tchotchkes, branded gifts, and swag. These are all excellent business development tools. For instance, I'm the president of our homeowners association here in Tucson. In the course of my activity, I work with attorneys regularly. Our homeowner association attorneys present regular quarterly lunch and learn programs. Each program attracts 100 to 150 clients and potential clients. Examples of effective branded merchandise that our attorneys give away at these programs is an insulated tote bag. This is very useful in the summer when people are going to picnics, they're going to the lake, and they're taking along fruit, yogurt, perishable items, something that you need to keep cold. An insulated tote bag is the perfect solution that will be used every day by clients and potential clients. Our attorneys give out the best pen ever. They're very inexpensive. However, I use mine every day. I have 2 of them, and every time I use the pen, it displays the name and telephone number and web address of the attorneys that we use regularly. Bath toys are also very effective. Many people have children, many people have grandchildren. These are little kids who go in the tub and take a bath. I'm talking about children who are not yet in school. So this is pre-kindergarten. And this is a time when many parents spend a lot of time and focus on their children while they're little, because it's a golden opportunity to make a positive impression on children. If you give the parent or grandparent a bath toy, it will be used every day, every time the children or grandchildren come to visit. And it's a reminder of the attorneys like you who are available to solve their legal problems. 2 other items. Coloring books are very effective at both ends of the lifespan. Coloring books are wonderful for grandchildren, little kids who are just starting out. I'm talking again about kids age 1 to 5, before they go to kindergarten. Also, coloring books are a very popular item for seniors. I'm 67 years old, and many people that I know enjoy using coloring books. And the thing is that senior citizens have many legal issues. They need estate planning, they need to wrap up their business affairs, they have many needs for attorneys who can provide solutions to their legal problems. And then finally, a refrigerator magnet, something that's very inexpensive. In fact, all of these items are very inexpensive. If you visit most people, you'll find out that in their homes, they'll have a refrigerator that is covered with magnets and pictures and souvenirs. Why not include a magnet from your law firm? The magnet can be used to hold up a photo of children, grandchildren, sisters, brothers. They're regular reminders. They look at it every day. And when they realize that they have a legal problem, they'll see your name and telephone number, and you've made it very easy for them to contact you.
So
I'd like to say that feel free to contact me directly at larrybodine.com. Also, we discuss all of this on the LAWLYTICS blog, and I invite you to follow it. We distribute one email per week. It's sent Sunday morning and includes 3 items, and you'll receive it at a time that you have time. Victoria, back to you.
So Larry just went over things that you can give away in person and how to do that effectively. I'm going to talk about what is sort of the online equivalent of that, and that's online collateral. At this point, you can probably see the value in online content, but substantive practice area pages and blog posts aren't the only way to engage your potential clients. Your potential clients have lots of different learning styles, and they want to engage with your firm in a number of different ways. And one way that you can build their trust and carve out a little bit of real estate in their mind when they're thinking about hiring an attorney is to create online collateral. Words are the lawyer's tool, and if you choose to pair your expertise with multiple ways to demonstrate what you know, and whether that's a blog post or an ebook or an infographic, you put yourself in a position to become a leader in your practice area. So collateral first, it helps lawyers build relationships with clients. Collateral gives you a chance to create a connection between you and a potential client, and that's even before they contact you. So when a potential client downloads and reads an ebook, when they learn new facts from an infographic, when they're inspired to share something that they learned in an email series that you wrote, or you've carved out some real estate in their mind. And visual demonstrations can be very compelling. So by providing those extra materials, you both implicitly and explicitly give potential clients the benefits of having you represent them. Your law firm's website is a lot of times the first thing that a potential client or referral source sees about your law firm. And the information that you provide there or that you don't provide can leave an impression. So you want to give your potential clients a good impression and give them information that they can actually use. And you want to give them choices. Having choices, that's very important to your potential clients. I think that's really important to all of us. And by providing them with extra materials, you give them the choice for how they want to process the information that you're providing. So the benefit in giving web visitors choices is that it helps to keep them engaged. So as an example here, if the options on your law firm website are basically call my law firm or leave my website, that's not very compelling. But when the options are call me or subscribe to my newsletter or download an ebook I wrote or learn something new from this infographic and on, then you're giving your potential clients multiple opportunities to engage with you. Collateral also impresses clients. It differentiates law firms from the competition. So I said that it helps to build a relationship between you and your potential client, but when collateral is done well, it's also very impressive to people. It gives your law firm another opportunity to deliver your unique selling proposition. It sets you apart from your competitors, and we're at a point where traditional marketing isn't nearly as effective as it used to be. People at this point actively ignore ads. They will skip over television commercials, they will turn down their radio dials, they will pay their music streaming services to avoid ads. And we're also at a point where people even use ad blockers to block ads on the internet, which is why pay-per-click marketing can sometimes be a little less than effective. Yet the one thing that potential clients generally don't ignore is the content that answers their questions. In fact, that may be how they found you in the first place. So that content, of course, can arrive in a number of forms. It can be blog posts, it can be substantive pages, and it can also be online collateral. And it's an easy and cost-effective way to differentiate yourself from your competitors. A lot of times competitors either have not discovered the value of online marketing collateral or they aren't doing it well. So you can really wow your potential clients and referral sources, both in terms of information quality and how it's presented. Now, where collateral is concerned, it doesn't have to be overly complicated. So as an example here, if you wrote a number of blog posts that are related to each other about a particular topic, you can pretty easily repackage them into an ebook format. Maybe you do some light editing, maybe you write a preface that really speaks to the potential client who downloads it. There's a lot to work with there, and it can really help you develop relationships with your potential clients before you've ever met face-to-face. So we've now talked about engaging potential clients, but what about keeping in touch with past clients? Larry is going to now tell you a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Victoria. A key lesson for attorneys is don't let the relationship end when the matters end. Attorneys tend to drop relationships when the matter ends. This is a business development mistake because these are clients who know you and hopefully like you. They also understand the service and value that you provide. And then finally, they have paid you in the past, and they may again. So it's essential to stay in touch with clients after the matter ends. Victoria, back to you.
Thanks, Larry. So the internet has really changed how we all stay in touch with each other, and that extends to staying in touch with your clients. And this can be for potential clients or past clients, and that sort of depends upon your practice area, of course. But let's talk a little bit about how to do that effectively. The first thing I want to bring up is email newsletters. Now, it should be noted that email newsletters are often more effective for some practice areas than for others. For example, DUI attorneys, criminal defense attorneys, and family law attorneys, they may not necessarily benefit from a law firm newsletter. Potential clients may not want to be reminded about their arrest or divorce. However, attorneys in other practice areas may really benefit from creating a newsletter. So let's use an estate planning attorney as an example. An estate planning attorney's newsletter might cover topics like mistakes that can invalidate a will, or provide information about advanced directives by answering questions like, what happens when you can no longer make decisions about your medical care? This attorney might explain the risks in attempting to do a do-it-yourself will or other estate planning documents. But my point is that topics like these can be useful to a potential client who hasn't yet come to a decision about hiring an estate planning attorney. Estate planning attorneys can also benefit from a newsletter as a way to keep in touch with happy former clients. So a newsletter can remind a former client to keep up with things like reviewing their will or trust, as an example. Have federal tax laws concerning estate planning changed? Could rules about Medicaid eligibility or nursing homes make it more difficult for somebody to protect their home or their money? If somebody hasn't updated their will or their trust in the last few years, could that make it obsolete? So answering these kinds of questions, and of course, this is an attorney or an estate planning attorney specific example. There are other practice areas that also benefit from this. But answering these kinds of questions can really benefit newsletter subscribers and encourage them to contact an estate planning attorney, either as a first-time client or possibly even a repeat client, like Larry was saying. Now, another thing to think about is podcasts. Now, podcasts can be a little more labor intensive, but like collateral, can be another effective way for potential clients to learn a little bit more about their case or problem and to get to know you and your personality as well. There's that extra dimension of actually hearing your voice, hearing how you talk about a particular subject matter. And an extra benefit is that podcasts are really easy to access on the go. People listen to them while they commute, while they exercise, and so on. So keep in mind that these don't necessarily have to be these like big elaborate productions. If you have a subject matter that you want to talk about for 10, 15 minutes with sufficient detail to benefit a potential client, that can work. Now, as it goes with collateral, of which email newsletters and podcasts are really a part of, make sure that you start developing these kinds of materials. Before you do that, make sure you have a solid foundation of content first, both with substantive pages and with blog posts. Your potential clients are certainly likely to appreciate those extras, but often how they're going to find you is by making a Google search about their case or matter. And without the content that addresses their question or questions, it's going to be much harder to find you. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Larry, and he's going to tell you a little bit about how to let your reputation precede you.
Totally awesome, Victoria. To generate new business, attorneys need to make it easy for people to find you and find out about you and your firm. There's no business to be found in the office. When I was working at the Sidley Law Firm in Chicago, I always asked attorneys, do you have a favorite restaurant? If they said no, I realized that they never got out of the office and they didn't generate any new business. It's essential for attorneys to go to meetings to generate new business. I lived in Chicago for 35 years. Some of the meetings that I would attend, for example, were the Economic Club. There were international speakers who appeared, and it attracted exactly the kind of audience that you'd like to represent. I also went to Amherst College alumni events. I found other people with whom I automatically had something in common and was able to develop relationships easily. I would also go to the Bar Association. I would eat lunch there one day a week, and I would be there on the same day every week so that I would be seen as a regular. It's an opportunity to meet other attorneys, and these are people who are referral sources. It's important to give talks. Places where you can do this are at Rotary. This is an organization of business owners. Many attorneys are automatically qualified to belong. Bar associations. It goes without saying that if you talk to attorneys, these are all potential referral sources. Charitable meetings and fundraisers. You're going to attract people who have money and who can pay your legal fees. And then finally, I'm very active politically, and I meet all sorts of people in the donor class at candidate house parties. Lastly, it's important that you write articles frequently. You should target these articles for clients and potential clients. Your aim is to grow a tribe of followers. This is an excellent source of new business. I've written a blog for 20 years, and if you do a Google search, you'll find that I'm #1 in Google. And this is without paying a cent to achieve that. Victoria, back to you.
Thanks, Larry. Okay, so now let's talk about how to let your online reputation precede you. If I haven't driven it home enough yet, the best way to build your online reputation is through content. The easiest way for people to find out about you and your firm on the web is to build up that content with useful, meaningful information for your potential clients and referral sources. A piece of content that you write can really be an amazing investment for your firm because it lives well beyond the time that you took to create it initially. It's this continuously appreciating asset. So as an example, a blog post that you spend 15 or 30 minutes on that answers a potential client's question in great detail will answer that potential client's question over and over again as potential clients find it on the web and learn more about their case or problem. And the same goes for highly detailed practice area pages that outline the law and the place where you live. All of the content that you create, when it's done well, can demonstrate your unique value to potential clients. Another important thing to do is ensure that you are creating a consistent web presence. So if you have social media, make sure that potential clients can find relevant information there as well. Now, we don't advise that your social media is a major part of your online marketing. It should really be a supplementary aspect of your marketing that you use to increase the reach of your content and drive traffic back to your site. But people like to see consistency wherever they find you online. So make sure that your branding is aligned, make sure that your message is aligned, and that your addresses and phone numbers are updated, whether that's on social media or a review site or wherever potential clients might find you. Another aspect of consistency can be reputation management. If you have a lot of positive testimonials on your law firm's website, that's great. People really care about reviews. Those things are important to potential clients. They're important to us when we look up a doctor or a dentist or a restaurant. But for potential clients, they'll put themselves in the shoes of whoever has written that testimonial, and it leaves an impression on them about what they can expect when they work with you. But we also have to consider that your reputation as an attorney goes well beyond just your law firm website. That is, of course, something ideally that you own and that you control. You choose what goes on there. But you also have to consider that your firm's presence doesn't exist in an online bubble. There are other review sites to think about, places like Yelp or Avvo or Google My Business. So it's important that you also build up positive reviews in those locations. Now, there are some attorneys who think to themselves, well, I don't have any online reviews. Why is that something that I should worry about? So if no one has said anything at all about your firm, can somebody get a negative impression of it? Here's the problem with that. Having no reviews at all leaves an impression on potential clients, just like having positive or negative reviews do. Potential clients expect to find a variety of information about your firm when they search the web. They may expect to find you on social media. They are likely to expect your firm to have a useful and well-designed website. And they're likely to expect reviews from your past clients about the kind of work that you've done. So the reviews that you do have, or conversely don't have, will likely be compared to those of your competitors. Now, if your competitors have built up their review resources with lots of positive reviews, a potential client might choose a well-reviewed competitor over an attorney who has no reviews. So it's wise for attorneys to really start thinking about that. Start now, start building up those resources if you haven't yet. And lastly, this is something we talked a little bit about with podcasting, but consider thinking about multimedia. Again, potential clients like to learn in a lot of different ways, and including video or audio alongside the information on your site allows them to consume information in the way that they're most comfortable with. Again, this is supplementary to that solid content foundation, but it's still often a good idea once you have built up those other aspects of your site. Now, as we wrap up today's webinar, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in, and I hope what Larry and I had to say is helpful for you. Of course, I want to thank James Wynn for hosting us, and I encourage you to feel free to go check out any of our other free on-demand webinars, as well as blog posts over at www.lawlytics.com. All of those resources are available to you for free to help you better understand how the internet works and how your potential clients are using it to find you. If you have questions about your online marketing or about search engine optimization, or you're ready to take your online marketing to the next level, we are here to help, and we're happy to talk with you. So feel free to contact us through any of the methods that you see here. You can submit a consultation request from our main website at www.lawlytics.com. You can call us at 800-713-0161, or shoot us an email at info@lawlytics.com. And with that, James, I'm going to turn the mic back over to you.
Victoria, thank you. We had a quick question about handouts. Yes, we can send you a PDF file with all the slides in this presentation. So please feel free to expect one. I have your email in our system here, so I'll send you one accordingly. Now, one of the questions we have is, we talked about tchotchkes and send outs. Larry, you described some of the ones that you consider good ideas. What, in your experience, has been a standout for probably the most interesting, but not perhaps most thought out tchotchke you've seen in your career?
I go to a lot of attorney shows, and anything that is not used on a daily basis is ineffective. So, for instance, one vendor I know gives out moon pies. It's it's a nice little treat, but once you eat it, it's gone. There's no permanent lasting value.
Okay, well, great. And the other question is to you, Victoria.
Sure.
Now, when you mention content, many attorneys are, how can I say, time constrained. And what are your thoughts about outsourcing content production in regards to articles that are posted on the website? Your thoughts, ethical considerations, or any other things that may have been addressed from your experience about
That is a great question. So when it comes to hiring a ghostwriter, let me first say that I know attorneys are oftentimes really strapped for time between the demands of their practice and their home life if they can manage to get one. I know attorneys are so busy. When it comes to ghostwriting, the thing about online marketing is this. Attorneys, whether they know it or not, need content. What that comes down to is who is going to write it. If the attorney themselves decides that they are going to write it, that's fantastic. And at LAWLYTICS, we have a platform that makes that really easy to do, basically as easy as using a word processor. But if they themselves are not going to write it, then it comes down to outsourcing that to somebody else. And the things that have to be considered here are this. I know a lot of attorneys, there's a whole tribe of people out there who say that, if you do not write that content yourself, it's misleading, it's unethical. But really, if you are comfortable looking over a brief and signing off on it, the same applies to content on the web. Now, if you're going to hire someone to write that content, it is very important that they understand a couple things. It is important that they understand what it is that you do as an attorney and that they understand and will abide by legal ethics. And it's also important that they understand internet best practices so that they are following Google's webmaster guidelines and things like that. We have seen attorneys who will outsource their content to someone who does not necessarily understand those things. They may use a synonym for a legal word that completely changes its meaning, or they may not be following internet best practices and things like that. So we do believe ghostwriting can in fact work. It is just really important that you, if you're going to do that, you are delegating those tasks to people who really understand what it is that you do as an attorney. Now at LAWLYTICS, we also have a content writing department. It is overseen by attorneys. Several of our writers are attorneys. Everything is very, very closely looked over before it is ever published on the web. Attorneys, of course, have final say over all of the content there. So if you have questions about that, about content marketing, or you're interested in having some content written for your website, we're certainly happy to help you out with that.
Great, Victoria. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this webinar. Thank you again, Larry, Victoria.
Thank you so much, James. We appreciate you having us.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for joining us. Bye-bye.